Legendary billionaire investor Peter Thiel bought Bitmine. When he is investing in something, you should watch out. Peter Thiel is one of the most legendary investors on Wall Street. He co-founded PayPal with Elon Musk. Then he co-founded Palantir that went from $5 to $170. And when he's investing something, you should watch exactly and precisely what he's doing, because he is investing in 30x stock.
Welcome to the game, I'm the wolf of Dubai.
If you don't know me, my name is Danny. I am looking for explosive growth stocks. I was very early in Tesla, put my life savings into this company when it was $17. Some of my subscribers bought apartments or houses. So as you can see, you must watch, because Bitmine is on a huge explosive move. Let's dive in. Peter Thiel is a German-born, same like me, born in Germany. And when he was like 3 years old, he went to the US. Then he co-founded PayPal. Okay, he's part of the PayPal mafia with Elon Musk, Reid Hoffman, David Sachs, all of those billionaires. Crazy constellation. And then after they sold PayPal, he was a co-CEO or CEO with Elon Musk before. It was a huge fight about who becomes CEO, but eventually, both were CEO for some time. Actually, Elon Musk bought the company that PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel was essentially part of. They put together, they was first competitors, then they went together and created PayPal, which sold to eBay for a couple of $1 billion. And for those guys, that was like a huge paycheck, okay? Multi-million-dollar paycheck. I think like Elon Musk got 100 million, Peter Thiel got multiple hundred millions of dollars. And this was the start for Peter Thiel to actually go out there and invest in companies, okay? And the list that he is in with his own founders fund is insane, okay? I will just give you an outlook. SpaceX. He was very big on Facebook, Spotify, Airbnb, Stripe, OpenAI, Boring Company, DeepMind, Oculus, Polymarket. So, all of those crazy companies he's investing. So he get early access to those companies because he's like, a very legendary investor, very smart. And he manages about like $17 billion in assets in his fund. He started in 2025 with this fund. And here's a small shortcut of Peter Thiel, so you get to know him a little bit more, okay? Watch it here.
Hi everybody, I'm Josh Constein here at TechCrunch Disrupt SF, and I'm here with Peter Thiel of Founders Fund and Mithril Capital. Now, you've talked a lot about how you need to choose companies that might seem crazy at first to the average person. Otherwise, it would be an idea that somebody had already taken. How do you tell the difference between crazy and crazy like a fox, something that will actually pan out?
Well, you try to just always evaluate the substance afresh. So, does the technology work? You can ask questions about what's the prehistory of the founders? Have they been working together for a while? Are they going to give up at the first sign of trouble? So, I think you want to always focus on the substance. There are no shortcuts.
So you try to avoid coming in with biases about what can and can't work ahead of time.
Yeah, there's always a temptation to come with all sorts of sort of one-sentence rules, and we're as guilty of that as anybody. But I think what's gone best is you find something interesting about it, and then you try not to get to a yes or no decision right away. You try to really understand the substance, keep an open mind, and understand that. So substance over process every time.
So it's surely a hard question to answer because it's very generic, and every startup is different. But when you hear an idea that you're wondering if it can really work, what is your go-to follow-up question to ask an entrepreneur pitching you about what is their philosophy or their long-term vision and how likely they are to succeed at it?
Well, there's you always want to get the team, the technology, and the business strategy. So you have to get all three of those to work. And so if people want to talk about the technology, we'll talk about the people and the business strategy. So you go to the other two topics if they don't want to talk about them that much.
Cool. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your philosophy and the philosophy of the new rich that's come out of the technology scene. You're known for having very strong perspectives. I personally went to the Seasteading Festival Ephemerile. I'm really fascinated by that way of looking at things where we can solve the problems ourselves. We don't necessarily have to wait for somebody else. What do you think? Do you think that there's a different value system amongst people who are becoming wealthy out of the technology scene opposed to industries of old?
It's always hard to generalize, but I do think there's probably something different whether you made your money in computers or in, say, resources in the Congo or something like that. So I do think that there's something generally good about technology and generally very positive about this as an industry. I'm obviously a little bit biased, but I do really believe that. I think philanthropy is an area that deserves to also be rethought, and I always like asking these contrarian questions. And so if the contrarian question in business is, what great company is nobody starting? In philanthropy, the contrarian question, I think, is always something like, what great cause does nobody want to support? And so I always, one of the questions I always like to ask is, why is a cause unpopular? I don't want to give money to popular causes. I feel those are well enough funded. I think it's the unpopular causes that deserve to get more.
So you get a good idea here about what Peter Thiel is investing in, okay? So he looks into the technology or the concept that the company is doing. Then they look into the founders itself, how the name of his fund is structured as well, like Founders Fund, okay? They are focusing on the people. So when Peter Thiel invested in Bitmine, what could he have seen that convinced him to go with Tom Lee? Okay, so as you might remember, if you know, Bitmine was a Bitcoin mining company, and then Tom Lee had the idea, hey, I will come there as a chairman and we will redo the whole company and create like a treasury company for ETH. Okay, so they buy ETH, they think ETH will go up because ETH will be used for many stable coins. The government is pushing Ethereum as the main point for all the stable coins. You have the Genius Act, so they see a huge demand for ETH in the future. So they want to have more and more of Ethereum, so they will grow in value. And some of you might think, well, there's a lot of dilution, right? Well, yes, but same like with MicroStrategy by Michael Saylor, the dilution doesn't matter if the NAV, net asset value per share, goes up, okay? So they just have to ensure that the Ethereum that they buy will be more worth than the actual dilution, okay? So in that way, they create more value per share and the stock keep on rising. And this is the whole point, guys. Don't focus too much on the dilution, focus on much more on the net asset value per share. This is the most important for treasury companies, and this is what they do very well, okay? They had like 4x or so far in net asset value per share, and that's why the stock keeps on being in the range between 40 and 30s. Obviously they can go to 20s, but then they would be below the net asset value. And this is like you buy a house that has $1 million in the basement and you buy it for $700,000, right? So you buy something that is actually much more worth under the hood. So when Peter Thiel is investing in something, he is very picky, obviously, okay? He has a reputation, he has a lot of $1 billion to manage, he has a lot of knowledge, he's an extremely intelligent person, okay? Very well thought through person. So before we diving into the next clip by Mark Zuckerberg in an interview with Sam Altman, I would love to highlight my own product, okay? If you want to day trade on the markets and we achieve like 10 to 15% return of investment on your whole portfolio every single month since on average on about the last 3 years, check out x10daytrading.com. This is my own product. We created a software where you will receive all our trades all automatically. We trade only US stock market options, Tesla, Nvidia, SPY, QQQ. So those are the things that we send to your portfolio. You just have to switch on the software every single day. Rest is done for you. You need $10,000 at least to start. So schedule a call with me personally and make sure to do that right now before we're raising our joining fee. And I will looking forward to meet you and to see if our X10 Day Trading AutoPilot software will work for you as well. And if it's something for you, schedule a call today. And let's dive into the next clip where actually Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO and founder of Meta and Facebook, talks about Peter Thiel. And he has something to say that is so profound and it's so good. Well, it's like a quote, but it's amazing. Let's have a look there.
Speaking of Peter, and sort of a closing question, what's the best piece of advice he ever gave you?
I think Peter was the person who told me this really pithy quote that in a world that's changing so quickly, the biggest risk you can take is not taking any risk. And I really think that that's true, right? I mean, a lot of people I think that, whenever it comes to, whenever you get yourself into a position where you have to make some big shift in direction or do something, there are always people are going to point to the downside risks of that decision. And locally, they're maybe right? I mean, for any given decision that you're going to make, there's upside and downside. But in aggregate, if you are stagnant and you don't make those changes, then I think you're guaranteed to fail, right? And not catch up. So to some degree, I think it's really right that over time, the biggest risk that you can take is to not take any risk.
People always, and I see this in the comments, that you are crazy, Bitmine will not be that much worth and so on. But I believe that Peter Thiel know much more than you and me combined, all right? He invests in things that absolutely explode, that has like a plan, like a good team, and all of that is there with Bitmine. And Bitmine is a microscopic company, okay? I invested into Tesla when it was a $20 billion company and it went over $1 trillion. And Bitmine is now a $2 billion company, and I believe that it will be 20 and eventually maybe $1 trillion company as well. So we are very, very early in the cycle, okay? And if you haven't and you like books, then make sure to check out the book by Peter Thiel. It's one of the best books I have ever read on investing, on startup, on entrepreneurship, and it's called 0 to 1. He explains how early companies move, how they work, what is important, how to change, how to pivot, all of these things, and he is applying those into his investment mindset as well, okay? And in the next step of this video, I would love to jump in with you into the SEC filing to really see how much he holds, what could be there to find for us. So let's do this together right now. So it was reported in the mid of July. So I think it was like the 16th of July. Very wealthy individuals need to say to the SEC, hey, this is what I'm holding, so this will be all made public. So that's why how we can follow those moves of those billionaires like Stanley Druckenmiller. I have made a video that he is also in Bitmine, and Peter Thiel. And let's look into how much shares he holds and what we can see otherwise, okay? So he holds about 5.1 million worth of shares, okay? And this is, by the way, representing about 9.1% of the company. So he holds 10% of the company, okay? So it's a quite big investment for him in terms of the percentage of the company, right? He definitely has some influence where this goes. And obviously this is huge, guys, okay? This kind of news is only if you invest into this company because of this news. This is tremendous. If this guy invests into a company, he studies more than we can do. He has background private investments in public entities. This is the short name of that mechanism where people can invest into public companies, but in a backdoor way where they give money and they receive some shares. It's a different kind of way for investing. It's a investing method that MicroStrategy did as well. But with that said, they have obviously other, different kind of conversation. He's sitting down with Tom Lee and see okay, where you want this to go, right? What is your way? Well, this is smart, I'm investing. Let me put I assume that they paid $5 per share. So he put $25 million. And remember where the Bitmine share went. So Bitmine was at 5, where he most probably, got in, because then it was just announced, and obviously the stock went 30x since then, okay, to the highest point, which was, I think, let me see, it was 161. But for those guys, it's not about, just get in and get out within what was it? It was 6 days, okay, that the stock 30x. It's not for them a quick in and out. For them, it's about staying in the company. Now they have already a 6x, okay? So 25 million times 6x is 125 million. What the hell is going on, okay? Those are numbers that we cannot even comprehend, all right? And for Peter Thiel, it's yeah, I got it and I will hold it to $500 per share to have 100x, okay? And then he will have $2.5 billion, right? So it's absolutely insane, those numbers. And believe me that those guys are not about like just getting in and out quickly. It's more about staying for the whole journey, because it's so important to really follow those guys. And this is why, for example, when Warren Buffett announces which stocks he buys or holds or sells, those shares are going crazy either way, right? And obviously also after the announcement of Peter Thiel, the stock went 20% up. So those investors know more than you and me. Those investors are much more successful in investing. So if you follow those, you can do quite amazingly. We have the advantage that everything needs to be public by the SEC from those big whales. And if you swim along them, you can change your life forever, okay? So make sure to check out also x10daytrading.com, the first link into the description, as well as the comment section. I'm looking forward, if you have $10,000 to trade with us, all automatically done for you into your portfolio. Schedule a call, and I see you tomorrow for a brand new Bitmine video. And make sure to subscribe and smash the like button, and I see you tomorrow. Don't forget, the grass is greener always on the other side.